Hello, welcome back to Midwest Fantasy Football Week number 4. This week, in week number 4, the first game we're going to talk about, high score this week, goes again, second week in a row to Ethan, the pretty good team, surviving a narrow win, or I guess maybe not surviving, maybe coming back in a narrow win over Tom's, always a McBridesmaid, so pretty good team, snuck this one out, 154.08 to 153.52.
Yeah, unfortunately, Tom, still a bridesmaid with this one.
That was what he said too.
Yeah, some of the bright spots. Derrick Henry had himself a day with 38.9 points. And also Tom can hang his hat on that he had a really efficient day. He only had 7 points on the bench. He has Jordan Mason, who in CMC's absence has just been putting up some killer numbers, 27 points, which is his highest of the season. I don't know, when CMC's coming back. They project here, a couple weeks now?
Sure.
But, he's going to be a good solid flex after that, that's for sure.
A couple weeks might be sketchy. I don't know if you saw the day they announced it's Achilles tendonitis in both knees, not just one.
There's no Achilles in your knees, spouse.
Or, sorry, what is it? Achilles tendonitis in his ankles, right? I mean, it's...
Yeah, okay.
Wherever it's Achilles. But it's in both legs. It's not just one. So, yeah, not great.
Yeah.
It looked like Tom had his best possible lineup in.
Yes, he did.
We're going to get you to not talk about the left team first and talk about the team that won first. Sometimes the team that won is over on the right side on the screen when you look at it. So... Well, how about Ethan's squad, who's the winning squad this week?
Well, speaking of good things from San Francisco, because, so one of us can write segues. His top scorer is the San Francisco defense with 26.78 points. They had 6 sacks, 1 touchdown, and 2 fumble recoveries in the effort. Also, Chuba Hubbard, 25.1 points, real solid for Ethan there. Also, Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 20 points. Having himself a grand old time in Detroit now. And, looking at the bench, Amari Cooper was so-so. DJ Moore is more consistent, but either of them, or Cortland Sutton had a better day. Amari Cooper wasn't the play, but he was the play. It was one of those deals where just, somebody had a good day and somebody didn't. So, otherwise, he also put up a pretty efficient lineup as well.
Solid performance. It looks like this team is pretty good stacked. I mean, he's had the high score 2 weeks in a row. He's got 45 points on his bench. He's got 3 double-digit scorers that he didn't even need to pull in. Sitting in a really good spot moving into next week.
Yeah, like I said, Amari Cooper was the only disappointment, but again, it was a wash. So
it didn't matter. It was enough to sneak out the win. This game came down to the final, one of the final couple plays on Monday Night Football. I know because we were watching it, and all of a sudden Tom sent me a message and was just cursing out the last touchdown that Amon-Ra St. Brown had caught. So he's Tom's praying for a stat correction, I know. But this one is a little bit more than a half a point, which could be a little bit harder to do. You're going to need a sack to be taken away from that San Francisco defense, probably. All right, so anything else on this one?
No.
Okay, moving into our next game, we've got... our biggest blowout this week, Chris's Minnesota fanboy thumping on Aaron's picking so bad it hurts. 134.7 to 82.3. That looks like about a 52-point margin of victory. What do you think on this one?
Well, finally, Chris's strategy paid off. He managed to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Finally a feast for him instead of his famine. He was led by the bipolar Jordan Love this week with 31.16 points, which I think had 35 points in the second half or something ridiculous to overcome those 3 early interceptions. Also, I realized that, because I got to pick on him about something, he has no money to put anybody on his bench because obviously he has not moved CMC into the IR slot.
Yeah, I suppose you could make fun of him for not using his IR slot.
Yeah, I'm going to make fun of him for not...
You can pick up people for $0, but Chris is opting to just roll with what he's got. And, I mean, to be fair, he also had Baker on the bench for 28.8 points. That's a really good second quarterback option. I mean, especially with Jordan Love being out. We were watching Clay, his son, play soccer this weekend, and the entire first half, Chris was bitching up a storm because Jordan Love was sucking and Baker was going off. And by the end of the game, Jordan actually outperformed Baker. So that's actually a pretty good little turn to play.
Also a season high for Chris with Justice Hill at a 21.6. He basically doubled up his points from the last few weeks. So let's see if that keeps on going, but that also helped him out in that win.
Could have picked up a little bit more points here by getting Quentin Johnson out of your lineup in favor of the Lizard King. Alan Lazard, 10 points on the bench. Looks like just 5 catches for 58 yards. All right, how about for Aaron? Anything positive for his squad?
Well, they had a real, solid performance from a lot of people. He was led by Chris Olave with 16.7 points, but Jalen Hurts, Jameson Williams also in that 16-point club. So, unfortunately, he was hampered by Raheem Mostert with a late scratch. I believe he scratched at 5:30 on Monday. So no points there for him.
Yeah, he said he was mowing his lawn, so he got the alert on his phone, but he was outside, couldn't do it. He couldn't pick up his phone to actually pick somebody else up. That seemed like way too much work when he was mowing his lawn, especially because I know you don't have you have a push mower. You don't even have a riding mower.
Well, he's got his beer in his one hand and he's got the mower with the other. What's the poor man supposed to do?
Stop, put one down, make a 3-second change, and then move on.
They make zero gravity cup holders for lawnmowers, push lawnmowers. Just saying. Anyway, it wouldn't have mattered. He only had 4 points total in running backs on his bench. I think there was 2 or 3 of them there. I can't even remember.
I think that may have had a lot to do with why you didn't make a change, because he was already down by 50, and it really wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
So.
But it would have mattered if, somebody by some miracle.
Hey, that 0 could kill you at the end of the year when it comes to a tiebreaker for the playoffs, right? So if you end up missing the playoffs by 4 points, remember back to week 4 when we made fun of you for not subbing in a running back. You don't even have a running back that scored 4 points. You literally have 3 points.
That's what I said. 2.
It's 5 points total. But yeah, so if you miss the playoffs by 4 points or so, that's really this came back to this week.
Also, buy a cup holder for your lawnmower. I think that's all we got to say.
There's the memo. Yeah, buy a cup holder for your lawnmower. So, all right. So the closest matchup, as crazy as that first one was, which was only 56 points or 56 hundredths of a point, something like that. This one was somehow closer. Will's Galactic Gibbs Gang knocked off Brandon's Blown Call 104.78 to 104.58, a 0.2 of a margin victory.
Yeah, Will had a very solid week. He was led by James Conner with 21.3 points. And he actually still won despite Christian Watson putting up a goose egg because of his freaking ankle. He also had the best use of players in this matchup, so couldn't really have done any more. He did what he needed to do, so...
I mean, I guess if Christian Watson hadn't gotten hurt, that changes what... I mean, you didn't know that going in, because, you could have gotten Tajay Spears into your flex spot, but it's tough to know that ahead of time, right? Yeah. And it's always so easy to say, oh, well, you could have had this other player had they both completed a full game. With Watson getting hurt, it is what it is. So, how about over for Brandon over here?
He had Jaden Reed with 30.1 points to lead his team. Unfortunately, even though was real close to winning this one, Mark Andrews, again, was only targeted once.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks in a row with only 1 target. I think it definitely feels like there's an injury here that they're not talking about, or there's some reason that they're still phasing him out. I know that he had been in a car accident in the offseason, and somebody said, well, that could be that he's have some sort of an injury that's really holding him back, but something is definitely going on with him, but that they just have not disclosed.
Did he, date Harbaugh's daughter or something? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Anyway, Lamar Jackson was also above projections for him with 23.64 points, which just a bit, but, as better play, he could have swapped Etienne for Allgaier, but the projections said that how he played it was the way to play it.
Etienne got hurt in that game as well. So
he
does not have a designation, but he we got hurt, but he was out for a while. Because I know that I got an alert when returns to the contest. Had been forced out of the game with a soldier injury, was able to return back. Okay, because I know I got an alert on my on Sleeper for when he got knocked out, because I have him in that league. But it looks like he was able to play most of that game.
All right. But otherwise, this was a great matchup, and I think that Will's going to be praying to the fantasy gods that there's no points corrections.
We will see. With that win, so at 2-2, Will is sitting in 5th place. I believe he's the highest scoring of the teams right now in sitting at 2-2. Yeah, that is correct. So there's 5 teams sitting at 2-2, and there's only about 40 points that separate them. So it's a pretty close game in there for that middle tier, that that edge fringe playoff team.
Congratulations, you have done what NASCAR's been trying to do since the beginning of time, and create a parody.
All right.
All right.
NASCAR facts in the fantasy football podcast.
Yeah, NASCAR sucks.
Yeah.
That's also a NASCAR fact.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go on to Nick versus Scotty B / Josh. This one was won by T-Bolden girls by a lot. I'm not mathing.
45 points.
Thank you. Nick was led by Kenneth Walker III on his bench. 33.6 points. Not that it mattered, but yeah.
I mean, but he would have had a high score.
Yeah.
I mean, you're giving away some money. I mean, could have basically paid for your season right at that point.
Well, I mean, or $20 to feed his cat. Either one. Yeah, we're gonna get there.
I just saw something, and that's hilarious. All right.
But Nick was actually led by the eternal Alvin Kamara's 24.9 points. Yes, he's 29, which is like dead in running back years. Jaden Daniels and Mark Neighbors were not far behind.
It's not Mark Neighbors. It's Malik Neighbors. It's
I
Neighbors.
I'm writing notes by hand this
Malik
week.
Malik Neighbors.
It looks like Mark in my handwriting. I apologize to Mr. Neighbors. Anyway, you could have played.
Would you be my neighbors?
Yeah,
That's a
sure.
fancy team name. Will T-Bo be your neighbors?
No.
Okay.
Probably.
Sorry.
Okay.
Continue.
Anyway, yeah, we should leave that one alone. Anyway, only way that this could have been better for Nick is he could have played Xavier Legette, but
I mean, he could have gotten Kenneth Walker with 33 points,
I know, but I mean, Scott and Josh were already dead at this point. Okay, Scott, you can spit out the fact that you just caught.
I just looked at the lineup here. Scott and Josh scored 102 points in their starting lineup. With 5 players on their bench, they scored 104 points. They had more points on their bench than in their starting lineup. This is about the worst I've ever seen. Sorry, Scott.
Did you try, Scott? I actually don't mean that with malice. I just mean that with general interest. Did you just not get a chance this week? We understand things happen, but holy shit, man. You actually were led by Nico Collins with 36.1 points, and he was in your lineup, so that's great. CeeDee Lamb also had a season best 23.6 points, and Mike Evans, similar day. However, you were plagued by the Packers kickers curse. Narvison, 0 points. You also had Carson Steele, who basically had 1 touch and fumbled, so you had a -0.4 of a point.
Would you like to see the fun part?
Yeah.
So, Brandon Narvison, $3 winning bid on the free agent bids last week. Carson Steele, last week, $23 is what that cost him. So, that is, what is that, $23 for every point, -0.4 points? That's not a good investment.
I don't think they need help. I think they need an exorcism. Seriously, at this point. They're doing their best, but holy cow, man, just bad breaks for them. So hopefully next week's better for you guys. I'll stop picking on you.
So, and I while I was sitting here looking at these numbers, I have to realize that we were giving you crap about all this points, but like a lot of the points on your bench, there's 2 wide receivers that put up 22 and 21 points on your bench. Your 3 wide receivers that started put up 23, 23, and 36.
Yeah, exactly.
So those are your 4 and 5 wide receivers. The fact that they put up 45 points, somebody needs to trade Scott for wide receivers, apparently. He could probably use help at running back, I think. So
yeah, that's what I see.
Or tight end. Hey, Scott, do you want a Jake Ferguson? I've been trying to trade him a while. I know I actually made you an offer last week, and then I canceled it right away because I decided against it. But if you're looking for help, let me know. Yeah, Anything else?
No, I think we've picked on these people enough.
All right, over to the next one. Eric wins the battle of the cousins here. Eric's knocked off Trent's, the former deuce, last year's deuce, deucing in Laporta Johns, 115 to 103.
He's still deucing. Okay.
He is ongoing with his deucing,
yes. He was led this week by Jonathan Taylor in the loss with 19.8 points. 4 weeks does not a trend make, but it may be time to consider swapping A-Rod for Sam Darnold, because looking at the trends there, I don't know. I think A-Rod might be done.
Sam Darnold was a pickup for $20 this week on the waiver, but decided not to start him, which is interesting. I don't know when is the Rodgers bye. It's not until week 12, so it's not like you picked him up to cover a bye week.
Oh, he's got a swelly knee.
Oh no, he's broken because he's old. Where's his swelly knee? Oh,
my knee.
Well, that's not gonna feel great on the flight to England this week, is it?
Oh no. Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Right, that's where they're playing this week? Yeah, in Minnesota at is that where they're going? Is England or is it, London? London this week at 8:30 a.m. Don't forget, football starting at 8:30 this weekend. So, all right, anyways, how about on the winning side here? Anything you want to weigh in on Eric's team?
Well, I would like to say that our Deuce wouldn't have won either way, even if he would have, played this bench a bit more effectively. But Eric, let's go on to him. Brian Robinson Jr. had 23.3 points to lead his team. Deontay Johnson also had 21.3 points. He had a touchdown and 83 yards this week. Kyler Murray had an off day for him. He only had 9.98 points. Otherwise, he was efficient. You can't trust those backup quarterbacks to sometimes not have a good day when your starting quarterback has a bad one. So, very, very good play by everybody in this one, quite honestly. It's just, just thumbs the brakes sometime.
Fair enough. When you look at this, right, you've also got, I'm pretty sure Jonathan Taylor was knocked out. Yeah, because they're talking about putting him on IR. He's not a candidate for IR. So he got knocked out mid-game. He had 19 points, I think. I don't know if he...
Yes, he did.
He got knocked out mid-game? I don't know if he did or not. Anyways. Injuries there. Aaron Rodgers, obviously, he's injured because he's old again. Other than that, overall, it looks like a pretty even matchup. Not a real high-scoring one, but pretty close. Anything else?
No, that's about all for this one.
Okay. Over to my matchup, which is always entertaining. So, my matchup, I knocked off Derek this weekend. So, Detective Pikachu knocked off Haktua 119 to 103.
The last one was the Cousins Bowl. This is the Horse Traders Bowl. You guys are just like trade, which is great. It's great you're trade happy, but
I haven't sent any trades out. Derek. Well, I actually haven't seen much from Derek either. I know he was trying to get a tight end early in the year. He's actually rocking Isaiah Likely right now, who's the other half of the crappy tight end situation in Baltimore. So, what else would you like to weigh in on this one?
Well,
other than we're both horrible trade partners, apparently.
Well, you do try to take advantage of those you are trading with, so...
No.
Yeah. Anyway, Scott, you were led by Young Huku with 21.7 points, 197 field goal yards, and he had 2-point after attempts made as well. Devin Singletary did a little digging there because we may have him in another league. I think he's going to be what he's going to be. He's going to get his 14 touches. He may do good, he may do bad, but that's all he's going to get. He sucked this week. He only had 4.8 points. When last week, I think he had like 15. Also, Rico Dowdle, did you just pick him up?
No, drafted him.
Yeah, on bench. He serves some watching. He'll be a solid fill-in for you.
Yeah, if you'd like to look at the stats from these two, the Rico Dowdle versus crap. Oh, huge game.
Yeah.
And then you go over here to Devin Singletary, and you go good, crap.
Yeah.
So it's basically I just had them flipped around, which I should have done, but. I thought that the Giants would have better luck rushing against Dallas because Dallas got torched last week on the running game, but they are actually managed to correct that a little bit this week. So either way.
All right. Well, Derek was led by Geno Smith, who actually had his best game ever, like personal best, career best. He had 24.6 points. So. He had a career high in passing attempts, completions, and yards. So, yeah, that's his ceiling right there. 24.6 points. It's probably not going to get any better than that.
He only had one passing touchdown.
Yeah, but I suppose if he had more touchdowns. But, he had his highest in passing attempts, completions, and yards, which, that also does make up a big portion of your points. Yeah, I suppose if there had been 5 touchdowns in there.
That would have had a higher fantasy score, yes.
Anyway, not so great. Chase Brown on the bench, 25 points. But, 2 touchdowns will do that to you. You could have put him in for Ridley, who only had 2.5 points, and there's your win. But, who's going to do that, honestly? So, Kyron Williams also had 20.4 points for him as well. So, a lot of bright spots in loss here this week for him.
Yep. The only thing I would have to wonder about where you're going to go on this one is Tyreek Hill, the Miami wide receiver situation. Since Tua's gone out, quarterback play has been very suspect in Miami. Will you decide to continue to rock him, especially since you're doing Calvin Ridley, who also had a crappy week? Or are you going to look at saying, oh, well, I'm going to look at getting Ladd McConkey in, or or I guess A.J. Brown will be back at some point. I don't know how long his injury is supposed to be. Phillies inactives. But it really doesn't say how long he's supposed to be out. So, does the projections give us an estimate of when they project him to be back? Oh, they're on bye this week, so they project him to be back next week. So, you might be getting some help at wide receiver here shortly.
All right.
All right, and finally, our last matchup. Go away thing. Why is it not there we go. Drew's D-, 107 points over Lee's Cut My Balls. 67 points. So 107 to 67, a 40-point margin of victory.
Well, D-minuses get degrees or wins in this case for Drew. Led by Xavier Worthy with 16.3 points. Also, Joe Burrow, 16-point club as well. He had Josh Downs. Sorry, I can't read my own handwriting, and this is a new player.
Yes, Josh Downs.
Yeah, fluke performance with 22.4 points on your bench.
That is a incredibly gross understatement.
Yeah.
Josh Downs, that is not...
Nothing, yeah. And then it's like, okay, points.
No, so it's a big day, but he was hurt the first couple of weeks.
Yep.
This is what people are expecting he's going to do for this year. Now, he's going to have those days where, he's projected at 9 points. He's going to get around 9 points. But if he's going to catch a touchdown, he's going to be in this 22 ballpark.
Well, actually, stay here for a sec. Looking at those stats, he played the 24th ranked defense last week for 5 points, 25th this week for 22. If he's fully healthy, yeah. And they actually do have some green ranked or easier defenses in there. So
yeah, 5 in the next 9 weeks or so.
Yeah, now he's basically projected solidly for 9.5 points or so through the early year. So
this is one of those players that are probably going to benefit more from having a more stable quarterback in position rather than Anthony Richardson, who's much more scrambly, running around. I believe Richardson got hurt in this game, and Flacco is much more of a pocket passer. It probably suits his game better.
Also, one more negative for Drew would be the Kyle Pitts. Targeted 3 times, no catches. I saw
a stat this week that said Kyle Pitts... There's some sort of a score that they give to players, wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, about when they're playing against man coverage or zone coverage, about how they do with getting separation from the covered defensive backs. Kyle Pitts had a 0.0 on both zone and man, meaning he just does not ever get open. So, yeah, that was...
So does he just have to play against somebody really short? Or does he just know how to kick people in the balls?
I suspect that means he needs his offensive coordinator to scheme him open, which it does not appear that they did that this week, but maybe in future weeks.
I'm assuming he's Pro Bowl quality blocker then. I don't know. I don't exactly watch Atlanta that much.
All right, how about the other team over here for Lee?
Anyway, Lee, led by Zach Moss, with 17.8 points. Unfortunately, he was hurt by Rashee Rice being taken out by his quarterback on the fantasy team, and also Rashee's quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, who also had a bit of a down game for him with only 13 points. He was also let down by James Cook with a season-low 5.8 points.
Actually, Patrick Mahomes isn't a very good quarterback anymore. This is pretty much statistically average for him. He's actually not very good. He's a great real-life quarterback. Fantasy quarterback, kind of crappy.
Also, then he was up against, James Cook. It looks like he's up against Great D next week as well. Maybe put him in as a flex versus actual running back.
Well,
if you got no other options. So I don't know. You're pretty light on running backs.
I would personally, I'd probably be looking to start Bucky Irving. I think he's taking over that role from Rashad White in Tampa Bay. He's much quicker, much more of a nimble back. He seems to be catching a lot of touchdowns, getting some balls. Now, this week he only had 50 yards rushing, a rushing touchdown, and a catch, but it seems like his numbers are trending in the right direction, right? He's at 12 points the last 2 weeks. It could be a tough matchup this week at Atlanta, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of red matchups there, which would be bad defense or good defenses for him to play against. So
yeah.
So anyway, this is a real solid week.
All right, that's the end of our matchup sections. I was talking. I closed out of it. Hang on, we gotta go back. How do I duplicate tab? Hold, please. Imagine a hold music playing here. All right, I was talking about free agent buys this week. We mentioned a couple of them. Brandon Arvidsson was picked up for $3. Went to Scotty B and Josh over Trent. Cole Kmet, $8 bid went to cut my balls over 4 different teams. Pocket Dogs, pretty good team, and always the McBridesmaid. Everybody's looking for that tight end that's not going to suck because all of them suck right now. And then Sam Darnold went $20 bid to Trent over the $11 that Chris bid. And then that was it for this week. The other bids were all from last week.
Yep.
In terms of, there haven't been any new wagers placed so far this season, other than the ongoing wager that we have for the four-man bet, between myself, Scotty B, Aaron, and Tom. And so now I've actually got that recorded into Yahoo, so that way we can actually see the scores as they're updating. After the first 3 weeks was when I got it all up to date. I was in first place with about 200 points, followed, and then the standings after this week, Tom and Scotty B both had some injuries, some guys on suspension, some guys that were out, so they only had a limited amount of guys going. I scored 49 points. Aaron got 42.5 points. Tom with 15 points, and Scotty B with 13.5. Right now, I'm in first at 255. Aaron's in second at 210. Scott at 187, and Tom at 169. So kind of give you an idea where that is. I can definitely screenshot that at some point and throw that in here. So I should have that on the screen at some point. That's it for this week. Any words of wisdom before we cut off?
No, just that it's bye weeks are beginning, and there are games in overseas. So make sure you're getting up earlier Sunday mornings to check your teams. No, just kidding. Just keep it in mind, though.
Most of you have kids. You're already getting up early. I'm the only one that can sleep late. So the only other thing that I would weigh in is even though we have the game on Sunday morning now, hopefully that means that we're done with a doubleheader on Monday night because it sucks because I can't watch both of them. So unless we're watching them in here, but I like to go sit on the patio during that time frame. So all right, everybody, it was good talking to you. We'll see you in another week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.